Yes, I'm with you now. Can you hear me, please? Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear.
Oh, okay.
If you please turn on your video.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Hi, Bibi.
Hello, good afternoon, Eugene. Good afternoon,
Good
Tonya.
day.
Good
Good
day,
afternoon, Bibi. Mhm. Yes, look, Mon, I can see you now. So we'll just give a grace of say 2 minutes and see if all our guests can join us. Even though this
Okay.
is PR and we're never late. So just more 2 minutes and we'll kick off.
All right then. That's fine.
Beautiful. My COO, I can see you. You made that time. That's beautiful.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes. Where are others? Jacinta, could you please tell others to join us? We don't want to have this without them. We'll miss them.
All right, ma'am. On that.
Yes, please. Just tip them off. Let them join us. Okay, I think this is 2 minutes. Maybe what we would do next time would be maybe more of a publicity. So we don't come here and talk to ourselves. Because it's yes. It's actually hearing from these experts today is actually going to be worth all the time. So I think maybe next time we'll have to reach people personally. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
Personal inboxing. Okay, the show must go on. And let's welcome all of us at this event. Is the auspicious Evaluate PR, and this is the 25th edition. Even though this is the very first one in this year, so this is the first quarter, the very first outing for the whole 2024. And of course, my name is Queen. I've always been your host for some time now. I'm also privileged and most humbled to be here again. So I will be welcoming Tonya Curry. I hope I got that right.
Yes, fantastic.
Tonya Curry is the director, Acumen Media Management. Okay,
That's me.
beautiful.
Thank you.
So we
Thank you
also
for
have
having me.
yes, we have Lukman. Lukman Olede. He is the founder CEO, Brand Arena Communication. Welcome, Lukman.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Happy
and
to
of
be here.
course, our Beatrice. She's here as Bibi. I hope you got that, everyone. She's Beatrice Eneje. I hope I got that right. If I didn't pronounce it with my local dialect, permit me, please.
I think we
So,
tried.
Beatrice is a founder, lead consultant, Cora and Hive. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Welcome. Welcome, absolutely. All credits, every glory would go to P Plus today, as always, for always bringing this beautiful event to us. Okay. So today we'll be looking at crisis communication measurements. What PR and communication professionals must observe in 2024, the new year. So with me here today are these three wonderful um, personalities in the industry. So of course you can see with the lineup that we have these experts to deal decisively with the topic. So welcome once again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll go straight to the point. Please, let's start with you, Tonya. Tell us
Thank you.
what you do as Acumen. What is going on there? Just tell us. What have you? How come you have been successful over the years?
Thank you, my queen. I've been in this industry for so long. That's why my hair is grey. I
Yes.
started when we were still cutting up newspapers with scissors and putting glue on them to send them out in the mail. And now everything is lovely and digitized. And today we run a media listening company. And what we do is we do active and rapid listening. So we will call ourselves the crisis killers. So if there's a crisis in PR, we pick it up before it even becomes a thing. And then from there, we guide the clients on how to manage through that crisis. And the same thing, we can put out a campaign. We'll be able to tell them immediately if that campaign is working or not, and then they can turn their strategy accordingly. We're a team of individuals that are South African based. They have so much experience. It's a team of strategists and analysts, and we work for some of the biggest names in South Africa. Definitely my favorite company so far. I've had 6. So this is my last one because I love it, and we've done a really good job, and I'm very happy to be here. Fifth appearance at the Evaluate PR event.
Wow. Thank you so very much. I think the ladies are happy first. Let's hear from you, Beatrice. Bibi, what's going on? Let's hear from Cora and Hive. How have you been doing it? Especially now that the whole country, everyone, including brands, are struggling to survive. What has been keeping you up?
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Bibi Beatrice Eneje. I like to be called Bibi because I think it's easier that way.
Yeah.
Um, I currently lead operations at Cora and Hive PR, and I founded Cora and Hive PR. I've been in the industry for about 7 years, and in that time, I've been able to learn, relearn, unlearn, face chaos, come out of chaos, and we're here today. What's been keeping us up by Cora and Hive is basically the tenacity from our clients' end, to be honest, because many of them are in the same situation that most other brands are, but everybody still has a drive. They still want to push for something. They still want to be better. They still want to communicate better. They still want to reach out to the people that they care about. So, I mean, if they have, that drive, there's nothing holding us back. We're just going to be that conduit. We're going to help them spread that word the way that they need
Yeah.
to do it and reach the people that they need to reach. So that's what we've been keeping us up.
So the whole thing started from the angle of journalism. I had a
Okay.
background working in Guardian, and then I pivoted into PR from there. When you write stories, and then most brands see that, and then other agencies are like, oh, I think we like this kind of storytelling approach. and then I moved into working with the agencies. And I was there for like 7 years. I worked with about two, three agencies, and then decided to like create Brand Arena. So for Brand Arena, it's been more, helping brands to achieve their goals. Basically, everybody now is going beyond, everybody's running away from crashes, of course, especially at this point in time. And brands are also trying as much as possible to see how they can, you know, unlearn and relearn, like the last speaker said, and try as much as possible to see how they can maximize the opportunity that is out there, despite the fact that the economic, the situation of the country. So basically, we've been trying our own possible best to see how we can help brand in that regard.
Mm, thank you, Lukman. Let's just head straight to the business of today, which is crisis communications measurement. We're not here to deal with crisis. Neither are we here to talk about communication, so to say. The key word that matters so much to us here today at this event is measurement. Look at today. It's the digital era. Okay? So now it's even more difficult to measure crisis. Okay, when it comes to the online, I don't know how to put it. The street of the internet is littered every day with all manner of things that brands have to grapple with. Now, brands, of course, manage a crisis of course, they go into crisis and they come out. And some are still in it and would just find it easy to come out. So it's a thing that this topic of today is very timely. So that anybody who runs a brand of any scale today will have a lot to learn. Now, let us see, what is the most effective strategy? If there's any brand here today, what strategies would you say that this is what, when you apply, you would have managed crisis in the digital era effectively? Please, let's have you, Tonya.
First thing, own your crisis.
Hmm.
The most important thing. Don't let social media or journalists own you. Own your crisis. Stand up, be heard instantly about how you're going to fix it. That's it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Don't go silent. We recently had Old Mutual, which is an insurance firm here in South Africa. They didn't pay out on a funeral policy. They were paying the funeral policy for 19 years, and the people got paid the average of probably about $20 after 19 years. Whoa. They took the body and dropped it at Old Mutual's offices. Now that is a serious crisis. Old Mutual ran away from it. They said there was a problem with this clause, that clause, that clause. Nobody buried the woman. The first thing they should have done is come out and say, we take ownership, we'll handle the burial, it's on us, we are so sorry, you're a good client of ours, and Old Mutual cares for its patrons. But they didn't do that. The crisis continued for weeks. You see, when you don't own up and own your crisis, that crisis will extend. It'll become bigger and bigger. When you own it, then people know where to direct their comments and their distaste or their problems. And then you can manage those people offline very quickly. That's how you kill a crisis. The first rule is own it.
Beautiful. Thank you so very much. I have just noted it. Own it. Own it. Own it. If there's no other souvenir out of this event today, let it be this. Please. Yes, please, everyone. Bibi, let's talk about our metrics. You and I know that AVE. People still use AVE to manage or to measure or to be the metric or part of the KPIs that measures communication. But if there's one person or one brand that's always shouted themselves hoarse, it's P plus measurement. Please do not go the way of AVE anymore. They do not measure the real thing. In fact, they are vanity metrics. Let us stop using them. But you still see persons measure crisis communication or any form of communication for that matter, trying to establish the effectiveness using AVE or even just mere impressions. Could you please tell us, Bibi, at this event, what are metrics that you should look at if truly you want to measure crisis communication effectively?
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. I think the first thing I would like to point out is that you should always remember that you're in the business of people, and people are
Hmm.
human beings and they are emotional beings. And before you start thinking of people who clicked the media release or the press release, or how many earned media you got, for putting out your press release, at least try to understand what the reception has been so far with the kind of communication that you've had. Tonya said is that nobody buried the woman who was dropped in front of Old Mutual's office. If you had thought about the fact that you're dealing with human beings, that would be the first thing that will come to your mind. And I mean, if you actually put it in front of you every time, you cannot necessarily be saying you're a public relations professional. You are talking
Hmm.
to people. Public is not a house. It's human beings, right? So always remember that. And so if you're then in a position where you're in a crisis, and then you've put out communication, you're trying to measure how effective this has been. I think we're in an age where this can be a little easier than than
Before.
it is, right? Because um if something happens, you will get more people speaking about it and telling you their mind without asking them. Let's take the case of Erisco Foods in the last 6 months. Nobody has asked questions from many of the people who have aired their opinions. Many people have gone on TV to air their opinions. Many people have written articles. Many people have posted on social media. You have real time feedback from actual people who are listening to the communications that are going out. That's how you measure. Find out how people feel about the things that you've said. I learned something two months about 2 weeks ago, and it's funny because it's a simple statement. The person said words mean things. And it's simple, but you never really think about it like that. That words mean things. You feel like you've written the best release by industry standards. It's amazing. The media tells you, oh, this is a great story angle. But what does the word you use actually mean to the person? You find out by hearing the feedback from these people. You have influencers who talk about you. Go into the comment section of this your influencers or this your media people. You will get real time feedback of how your message actually made people feel. So I think that's one way that you can actually approach it.
Lovely. Lovely. Sentiment analysis. That's what we fail to do. We don't do it. We don't. And look, man, over to you. We want to talk about not this now, but let's even look at still in this social media era. hmm, Everybody knows how to set the Google alerts. Everyone knows how to do all the alerts, whatever, coming from whatever. But of course, you know that without an expertise kind of thing, it's never enough, you know. So can we even talk about how organizations can effectively monitor and analyze social media sentiments when they are in crisis, just to make sure that they gauge the right public perception, aside from the Google Alert thing?
Yeah, so I would just like to take it from where Didi also stopped. In reality, we're in an era, whether we like it or not, we cannot push it away, right? So social media has become a platform where everybody now have a voice. People can easily
Yeah.
go online and any dissatisfaction they have with the brand online. So the first thing first is that you need to have that social listening. That social listening tool, you just need to have it. Tools like Hootsuite, like Brand Watch, like Top Worker, like, working with the likes of people. That's exactly why they are there to help you ensure that you have that social listening ability of what exactly is happening within your space, because that's the only way you can be able to really manage situations like this. And it's also very important that from your angle from the strategic angle, that you ensure that you have some kind of crisis simulation. Most companies don't have an idea of what is to expect until these things eventually happen to them, and then they start running helter skelter. They don't even know, okay, how do you even start to like manage this situation, in the first place. So you need to have that simulation in place. I while working at the agency, a couple of years ago, one of the top three beverage brands in Nigeria was recruiting for a CEO in Nigeria, and our agency was, chosen to be part of the company to evaluate the top three out of the selected people. And what we did was to do some kind of crisis simulation. We created a scenario and interviewed the three of them, asking them that, okay, what would be your response if this kind of scenario, sort of a scenario analysis, if something like this happened as a CEO of a top beverage company, how would you address this, right? So that's just a way of preparing their mind of what's the possibility of what could happen within the business space, right? So these are some of the things that are very, very, very important. And beyond waiting for the crisis, it's also very important that you get feedback from your stakeholders. You need to understand even things that could probably happen even before eventually get to happen. So these are some of the things that are very, very, very important, and you cannot wish away the possibility of a crisis within an organization. So in a nutshell, I think it's very, very important that you listen. You have that social listening to be able to like observe whatever people are saying about you online or within the digital space, and try as much as possible to get that feedback from every stakeholder within your business. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tonya, let's even look at the benchmarks.
Yeah.
Coming from where Mr. Loyede is coming from, let's look at what are actually specific benchmarks that organizations should begin to look at. So it will not just be what we talked about, those vanity metrics. What are things that really they should look at when they want to really reference crisis communications efforts that they've put out there? What are things? Let's look at the industry benchmarks that you would advise.
So, just a quick word
That
on
organizations here present today should begin to look at.
Just a quick word on AVE though. The thing is with AVE, it's fine to use it for the financial person within an organization who wants to measure whether your marketing department is actually achieving anything for what they're paying. But AVE does not work in a crisis. It does not. So if you've managed to keep that crisis silent, so if for old neutral, you managed to fix that crisis before it even became a social media story, according to AVE, effort is worth nothing, zero.
Yeah.
Whereas when they'd left the body and you didn't bury it, then the AVE gets bigger. So that is not a true measurement at all, unless you can start working with negatives, which also doesn't make any sense. So firstly, AVE and PPAS measurement and acumen are absolutely on the stage. AVE, death to AVE. We are done with AVE. And I'm happy to say here in South Africa, it has become now a smaller metric. But they still use it, but it's a smaller metric that is provided. What are the big metrics and how do you benchmark them? That was the question you asked. And Oliedo said earlier about having the media listening tool in place. It's very important. Within some of those listening tools, some have good stuff and some not so good. But the thing we're looking at is, over time, is my brand liked or disliked? That's the end question. Doesn't matter what happened in between. What's today? Am I liked or am I hated? Right? So what good media listening tools work out is a thing called net sentiment. So it takes all your good stuff and all your bad stuff, and then it puts it on a chart, and it works out from -100 to +100. What is the people's perception of your company? Now you're looking for zero, neutral. Neutral is good. Anything above neutral is a win. Like if you put in fast food companies, you're going to find they're always in the red. If you put in political parties, you're going to find they're like -80%. Everybody hates them. Okay, so then once you have a benchmark, it's okay. I'm minus
Yeah.
80%. Next month, because I'm running for election, it went to minus 60%. I did well. I did well. Now, if you have a good media listening tool, it'll allow you to pinpoint exactly where you did well, even if you are a brand like a political party who's always in negative sentiment. It'll be able to tell you when that negative sentiment wasn't so bad and why. The question is, what turns the audience on and off? And you can see that through a proper listening tool. Then if you're in a crisis, I think like how quickly you get rid of that crisis. Because if you do it quickly, people forget. Today's news is tomorrow's fishing footstep, you know? But we're like goldfish, social media users. They will forget within 5 minutes and they'll move on to some other crisis. So time is critical. And that you engage with accurate influencers, the people that can help you to bring that reputation back into positive territory. So don't go looking for somebody who has no followers to help you in the story. You've got a massive story. You want somebody to stand up and say, look, I stand with Old Mutual. They've been my company for years and they've really helped me. And I myself am the president of this and this company. You know, Tony Prairie saying I like Old Mutual means nothing. Means nothing at all. So time and quality of influences and when I say influencers, I'm referring to journalists as well. You know, it's like not just social media.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much. Vivi, look at real-time monitoring when it comes to crisis management. How many of us are actually, how many of us actually do, how many brands actually does that? When they're in crisis, you monitor real time. You want to find out. In fact, it should actually be a tool to even wrestling that crisis to the ground. Because as these responses are coming from left, right, and center, if you're on ground in this time of social media craze, if you're on ground, quickly you are even managing it. Okay, so please tell us more. What are the importance of this real-time monitoring when it comes to crisis communications this time around?
I mean, any professional PR or communications organization, whenever their client is in a crisis, they do not sleep. I will tell you that for a fact. So, because you're there as the fire extinguisher. You have to quell the fire immediately.
Yes.
But yeah, the importance of following communications in real time, it helps you to respond in a timely manner, right? Because if you're sending out communications, you've owned your crisis, you are reaching out to the people involved, you've ticked all of the great boxes, and somebody from somewhere just comes out with a random rumor that doesn't even concern you and finds a way to just destroy everything you've been working on for the past 2 weeks. If you're monitoring these things in real time, you're able to immediately put a pin on that and say, no, this is what we're saying, this is not what we're saying, this does not apply. So timely feedback actually is one of the best results of monitoring your crisis communication in real time. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks so very much. You are on ground and things will go worse than they are already. Thanks
Exactly.
for that learning. Yes. Mr. Loide, let's talk about data analytics. Analyzing our data. In fact, there was this an article I did, was it 2-3 years ago, when I was querying who should measure PR. In fact, that was the title of the article. I love it so much in that it was born out of the fact that everybody just thinks they are measurement experts. Just again, P Plus and the likes of them have been screaming, brands, please do not be the marker of your own script. If you have done something in the communication or even in the crisis management arena, Please bring it to us. Let us help you give you something that is not just tangible but objective. Okay? So, but how many brands are actually doing that? Many persons still subject it to maybe a junior one in the office to say, please go out there, let's know what people are saying. Just do the small, just put it together and let's report to our GMD or our MD. So, but is that really what we should be talking about? So, we put it to you now, Mr. Lohide. Please tell us again, just for reverberation, what role does data analytics play when it comes to evaluating the success of crisis communication strategies? Let's even take that left.
Hmm. Thank you very much. That's a fantastic question. I would like to take it from what Tony asked the last time, right? So, in reality,
Yeah,
it is actually, if you look at the name itself, it's talking about advertising value in the equivalences. So, yeah, actually, the metrics itself is meant for advertising, not public relations. You
mm,
know, because most, a couple of years ago, PR, practitioners could not really find a way of measuring. That was why they had to just adopt what advertising practitioners were actually using. So it actually like the accuracy to really to measure properly in terms of the media coverage. There's no standardization. That has also been one of the major, complaints about it. It fails to capture the entire quality of what PR should actually represent. And like you rightly said, I think primarily the problem for companies has been that they don't really even understand the objective or the KPI for that
yeah,
particular, for their efforts. So when you don't
yeah,
really know that, it's easy for you to just feel like, oh, maybe somebody, a junior person within your communications department can just handle that by probably just picking up a couple of newspapers and just checking for your mentions, and you think that mention suffices for your PR measurement. But in reality, that's actually not what you should be looking out for. You mentioned data analytics. The truth is, it plays a very crucial role in providing valuable insights for every organization. You know, if you look at this from if you examine the historical trends, coupled with the current conditions, you realize that it's very important for organizations to put in place a very clear objectives and KPI for their need when it comes to PR itself as an organization, and then it's also very important from the angle of looking at your data to be very transparent and accurate in terms of your benchmark for crisis communication. Um, if you have a very clear objective of what exactly you are looking out for, um, you look out for your key elements like your media impressions, your sentiment analysis, your message penetration, how effective is your message out there, and of course you can also know this based on your end media. Sometimes you just have your story out there, and in the story, and before you know it, you find it in so many other platforms. That shows how good your narrative is.
Sorry for the hitches. I think the network is playing us some game.
Your data analytics and also the outcome metrics. You need to have very clear expectation of what exactly you want to achieve and be able to like track these accordingly to ensure that you've been able to like use these metrics data, about your brand. We mentioned earlier, social listening tools. Social listening tools, I cannot, overemphasize the importance of having that because it helps you to know what people are saying about you, and it also helps you to
Oh, sorry. The network is poor. Okay. Mr. Lloyd,
so
can you
you
hear
are
us?
aware of all this information. And like Didi also mentioned, real time is, is just the way to go. We're in a digital era. We all have to just follow, issues about our organization real time so that we can address them as quick as possible. Nobody can tell your story better than what you tell about.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, the network
Put our address in the
is
media.
poor.
In such instance, what will suffer will be the trust in the brand. So people then struggle to trust the brand and feel like, oh, we're different from. Oh, you can barely hear me.
Okay. I okay. It's okay. The network has been so poor and it's playing us
Hello,
a
can
lot
you
of
hear me?
games. Sorry. Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you even though the network has been so glitchy. Yes, there are some hitches. But I think we got your points.
Yeah.
Yes, and let's just help him out with the second question I was going to ask him. Tonya, please just help out. Are there some best practices we should look at when we're leveraging data in this context? Let's just let everyone know. Best
You know,
practices.
Queen, one of the things we've learned here, and Philip from P Plus will be able to attest to this, is computers are only so good, right? Human
Yes.
beings are really needed in our industry. So, we can pick up a crisis on a machine, but the machine will tell you you've got a crisis. But if you don't do anything about it, or you don't read the alert, that crisis is going to sprawl out of control. So what we learned very quickly here in our organization, and it's been one of our biggest sellers, is rapid live listening. So knowing as it happens what's been said. Now, how do we do that? I mean, some of our clients have 50,000 returns a day. Okay. So what we do is we set up special codes for negativity, and we will actually go into the data as a human and check the integrity of that computer system. And Philip will agree with me that you have to use humans, right? So best practice is, if you can, is to catch the crisis before it becomes one. Now, what we do here at Acumen is we do exactly that. So we go into the client's data at least 6 times a day. And we let the machine feed us information that it thinks is crisis noteworthy. And then what we do is we go and read it and see, well, is this just a storm in a teacup? Or is this a serious crisis that the client really needs to worry about right now? And we make that decision based on our knowledge of many years of media monitoring experience. We then send that alert, no longer through an email system or whatever. We send it straight to their phone on a WhatsApp group. And we say, guys, we're not sorry to bother you. This guy is a big influencer. He's saying this about Old Mutual. You better address it now. Then we hand over to the PR practitioner or to the client to take it from there. Now, the client can take 2 steps. First one is obviously own your crisis. The second one is take out a statement or let it be. In South Africa, we have this terrible thing of xenophobia. With Zimbabwe being our neighbor, many South Africans are angry at the number of Zimbabwe nationals in our country that have jobs. So it's a national conversation, and it's a very messy one. So we do work for some franchise holders. They may be the motor industry, or they may be fast food chains, whatever the case may be. And you constantly get this feedback of, why am I being served by a Zimbabwe national when a South African should have that job, Wow. And then the client chooses whether, so we pick up that, and it's a big conversation. So we'll tell the client, look, this is what's going down. These are the guys involved. It's happening right now. What are you going to do about it? And often, when it's a crisis like that, one that is just simply not manageable, because it's a South African problem, they just leave it. Now, for me, this kills me because I feel what you should be saying is, look, yeah, we do employ nationals. They're all legal. And here's a whole bunch of South Africans we employ as well. You know, to me, it's a very simple fix. But they've chosen to stick away from that. So best practice, own the crisis. The second thing is assess, is it worth engaging or not? You know, once you put out your statement and you fix the problem, or you're about to fix the problem, is it so big that you have to go out there and talk on television and tell everybody, yes or no? And if the answer is no, then you deal with that client, you ring fence your crisis, put it in a box, deal with the people that are involved and get rid of it. If it's a massive crisis, like we saw with Old Mutual, they had 600,000 posts in one day about that crisis. Then you've got to get on TV. You got to get on TV. You got to get into traditional media. You got to get into online, and you've got to be able to say, these are the facts. This is what we own. This is what we've done to fix it, and this is the compensation we'll be paying. You know, and then you can say, we are humbly apologize. So it depends on what the crisis is, what best practice is, but owning it, number one, and then deciding what measures you're going to do to fix it is just, for me, it's just a natural progression. If a client complains to me about bad service, the first thing I'm going to do is drop everything and fix it. That's the first thing I'm going to do. So it should be the same for all big companies, even political parties. Like that's another story. You know, we have a water crisis in our country. So everywhere you turn, the ruling party has been in trouble about water, cholera, etc., etc., etc. Instead of saying, look, guys, we took Johannesburg, we put it all together, and we fixed Johannesburg. Next step, we're going to Cape Town. You know, they get votes. But instead, it's this one's problem, it's that one's problem, it's this one's problem, it's that one's problem, and nobody's owning it. So best practice all depends on the volume of the crisis. If it is actually your crisis, like the xenophobia is not actually the guy who makes pizza's crisis. It's a national conversation. So best practice really does depend on what the crisis is and the volume of the crisis, and whether it is nuanced enough that it's going to impact on your sales. If it's going to impact on your sales, you better do something about it and quickly. And it's like anything in life. If you're given a problem in your personal capacity that is devastating, a big problem, you're going to fix it because it's your life. And so is your brand. A brand is a live, living thing, you know. So you have to react like a live, living thing.
You. That was an expose. You actually took us down there to South Africa. Thank you. Thank you. Bibi, let's look at just your piece of advice. You can for looking at everything we'll be discussing. It's clear that even anyone who has been listening, watching us, should begin to even look at, even without they being verbalized, the ethics, okay, when it comes to crisis communications measurements. So, but let's leave it that. Just give us just a piece of advice, just in a minute or two. Just what's a piece of advice to professionals in our industry who wants to measure, or rather, who do not measure PR? Let's even look at that. People who don't measure PR.
First of all, if you don't measure PR, I don't know if anybody doesn't measure PR anymore.
Why are you here?
No, because these days, first of all, we already know that many organizations, right, when they are creating their budgets, they finish the marketing, advertising, then they now remain between, and they're like, I think we need the PR agency. One way to stop that change is to be able to measure the impact of your work and let them know that this and this and this is what I bring to the table as a public relations and communication professional or an agency or however you're set up, right? And if you're able to measure the impact of your communications. If you're able to measure the impact of your crisis management, I feel like it will open you up to more opportunities. And maybe many times it's not about more opportunities, but it opens you up to better opportunities, right? Because then people who need that level of skill, that level of expertise, that level of attention to detail, they know who to go to whenever they need that. So it places you, it elevates your brand to a point where people understand that you know your onions, you know how to slice your onions, and you know when to dice your onions. Yeah.
And when to fry them.
And when to fry them. So yeah, it's very
That's
important,
a
and
beautiful
that's
one.
my advice. It's important to start to measure your PR and communication efforts. Measure them. Find out what brings success. What the places where you have pitfalls. What your learning curves were. What you could do better. When you have that information, it places you at a better advantage as a professional, as an
That's right.
agency, and what have you.
That's right. Thank you so very much. So you've taught us today that there's a difference between slicing that onion so and
Yeah,
dicing it.
and dicing it.
So all of us should know exactly what to do when.
Yeah.
I want to when to do what rather.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Lukman, let's have your parting gift. Share your favorite measurement and evaluation quotes.
Uh,
Let's hear it.
okay, so for me, if you can't measure it, you can't change it. If you can't
Mm,
measure it, you can't change it. So for you to
that's
improve
good.
anything, you should be able to measure. You should be able to say, okay, this is exactly how I can measure this to evaluate what have been done. And then that's when you can then figure out what exactly you can tweak, what you can add or remove, how you can improve it. So if you can't measure it, you can't change it.
That's right. Thank you so very much. Tonya, let's hear from you. I've been itching. Let me hear. What will be your favorite food measurement?
Well, definitely one of my favorite things to say to people is, firstly, if you're not measuring up, then like exactly what he just said, then you
Mm,
can't benchmark it. So there's no point. But I think with us, the one of the big things is, um, if you aren't brands. No, let's put it this way: brands are spoken about, not to. So it doesn't matter if you are on these platforms or you aren't. People are going to talk about you.
mm.
So if you're not measuring and you don't have your own channels, even if you have your own channels, it doesn't matter. People talk about brands, not to them. You better be listening very carefully.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Bibi, let's hear from Cora and Hive. What have you there? What is your favorite evaluation quote?
Well, I think I'll go with Mr. Oloyede, but then I'll give it a tweak.
Oh,
I'll give it a little
okay.
tweak. You should be able to measure so that you can control. Especially when you're working on managing crisis. If you're able to measure what's happening per time, what's going on, you're able to then control your narrative and then give you a better opportunity to come out on top as a brand.
Yes. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Can we have just 1 minute if we can go through the questions and then we'll call it a day? I think there's one question here for you, Mr. Lukman. He's saying, with your explanation, I think, would it be safe to say that real-time measurement like feedback are the perfect metrics for analyzing our strategies? Just Mr. Lukman, I think that's for you. Sorry. Just 1 minute.
Okay. Okay, a quick one. I would like to say that when we talk about public relations and we talk about communication generally, right, it's both an art and science, right? The art being the communication part of it, while the science is about the evaluation, is about the measurement, is about checking out the impact of what has been done. So feedback is just one out of many, right? Like I rightly mentioned, there are other ways we can also look at it, but feedback is very, very, very important. It can even help you prevent the crisis even before it happens because you are actually looking out for what people would say, that sentiment and that analysis. You are actually looking out for them even before anything happens. So it's very important that you look out for feedback and also look at being transparent in your approach. That social listening, like we've been hammering on that, is very very important. That you listen to the customers beyond just the survey that you conduct is also one of the ways, right? It's very 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 important that feedback is important, and also social listening is also very 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 important.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Lady. Abimbola, I see you raising up your hand. Can we have maybe your question or contribution in just 1 minute? 1 minute, please. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Good
Good
afternoon,
day.
good morning.
Welcome. Welcome.
My very good friend and invited me here, and I'm happy to be here. Yeah, yes, the question is there are some organizations who are not always putting in place the plan of a PR when they are making their budgets, and at the middle or at the long run, when they have issues or have problem, they will not bring in a PR expert, to probably get rid of the problem and find a solution to them. So, what kind of advice can you guys dish out to those companies who don't really take the place of PR as very important while making their yearly budgets? So that's the question.
Can I answer
Bibi,
that?
just 1 minute. Tanya, you want to take that?
I want to say, just leave them. Leave them. They'll burn, and they'll come back and say you were right. Introduce me to that PR, please.
Tonya seems to be over it.
Yes, you don't want to listen, then don't. Why are you fighting me?
Okay, but then just for the purpose of sticking to, I know you didn't take an oath to preserve lives, but then you just assume that you took an oath to preserve the lives of these organizations, right? It's important to find a way to communicate to the people that can listen in those organizations and educate them on the importance of public relations. And many times people wait till when they have crisis, but then everybody who has experienced a crisis knows that it's better to plan for a crisis beforehand than to plan in the midst of the crisis. And many of the organizations might be smaller organizations, so they might tell you, oh, who knows us? If they drag us, we'll be fine. We don't have so much, so we don't have so much to lose. But then I think that if people understand the future effect or the long-term effect of such kind of crisis, it will be a better way for them to approach or to learn about how to approach this kind of communications. I mean, for example, if you're managing, we manage personal brands, a couple of personal brands at Cora and Hive, and one of our clients is a chef. Now, the easiest thing that can happen at an event for a chef is that someone gets food poisoning and dies. It might not be because she put poison in that food. It might be because she used an ingredient that person was allergic to. That's a crisis. But if you did not plan for that beforehand on how to manage such scenarios, you and your clients and the dead body will just be there. I'm like, okay, what next? And then it will blow out of proportion. But then before we even start, we're able to let you know that, okay, this is the kind of brand that you're looking to build, or this is how you want to position your brand. X, Y, Z are the ways that this thing can go wrong, and this is how we can help you prevent that from happening or help you manage that a lot better.
Thank you so very much. Thanks, Bibi.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to
Cora
have
and
something
Hype,
quickly.
you can see they say you can have your flowers. And I think that flower goes for every of my panelists today. Thank you, this wonderful three. Thank you so
Thank you.
very much for being here. Thank you again. I hope you will oblige us if we invite you again. So it was just a chat. It wasn't even a very serious thing, so to say. So it's always nice to learn in a relaxed environment. And I assure you, everybody who joined here today would have learned a thing or two. Thank you so very much. And our love to the family. We're
Thank you
grateful.
very much. This was
Thank you.
lovely.
It should be a bye now.
Great to
Thank you
meet
so
you,
very much,
Lady
everyone, for joining.
Antonia.
We're
Thank
grateful.
you,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you. Thanks so very much. Yes. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
This one I dropped. LinkedIn.